Hello again, and welcome to the Small Print Podcast. I am your host, Elise, and I blog at roulettereader.wordpress.com.
I'm Dawn, and I blog at bangbangbookblog.com.
And today we are continuing our Kiss of Deception reread. We are really moving through the book quickly here, actually. And so today we're going to be talking about chapters 28 through 44, and this is a particularly exciting section of the book. We finally learn the true identities of the assassin and the prince, and a lot more else happens. So let's dive right in, starting with chapter 28.
All right. We get more of the story of Morgan through the priests, and it's important to pay attention to their story and how you'll see later, everybody has their own version. So this is the Morrigan's version, and then you'll hear the Vendon version, and then you'll hear another version.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Gaudrill's version.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind as you're reading, because everybody's...
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, everybody gets told a different story.
Yeah. What I found interesting is that Leah specifically talks about who is also a first daughter. And so when they're doing the Festival of Deliverance, there's this parade or something, this procession that goes through the city and leads to the sacristy, which I guess is kind of like a church.
Mm-hmm.
And she mentions that Pauline is a first daughter, so she's among them. And I think this is the first time we realize that she is also a first daughter of Morgan.
Pauline.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's probably something we're going to need. Oh, yeah. Gwyneth also. Gwyneth and her daughter
are first daughters. Well, we don't...
That's true. We don't really know who Simone
but
is.
It's speculating.
It is speculative. Because just the way that kind of the author kind of always pits them together. But Gwyneth definitely is, and whoever Simone is, she is also in the procession, so that's important to keep in mind as well. But yeah, essentially, they celebrate the gods granting them clemency in chapter 28. Do you have any other comments about that?
Yeah. In their story of the daughter of Morgan, this is when you kind of, once again, you get little bits and pieces of what time period we're in. So she's saying that they controlled the night and the day, which would mean electricity, we could assume, and flew among the heavens, could be airplanes. And so this is kind of confirming yet again that our theory that this is post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. Also, I made a point in this little section where they say that the gods saw their conceit, blah, 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 and so they sent the angel Aster to pluck a star from the sky and plunge it to earth. I googled Aster, and it is Greek for star, so as you said, it could possibly refer to like an intelligence satellite. But then I also realized that there was a ship called the USS Aster, so maybe like in the future they had another one and it shot something down or whatever. Global world war, who knows.
But I also looked up Aster, and it said that it's used in forming other words like disaster.
Oh, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Or asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they were hit with an asteroid, which, you know, if you want to go by, was it Armageddon? No, not Armageddon. What movie had the asteroid that destroyed?
I think that was Armageddon. He had to go and destroy the asteroid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make sure that I googled that because she specifically put that in that paragraph.
Yeah,
it's like that means something. So yeah, then we get more of the story further at the end of the chapter,
and we also start to learn that Rafe is not for Morgan because he doesn't know the prayer.
Right. She can tell that he's like just mouthing the words and not really knowing what he's saying, and that comes up again later. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, chapter 29 is the prince's perspective, and he's upset because Enzo, this like babbling bar hand at the tavern that Leah is working at, keeps like selling her information to people in the city, and he catches him and he threatens him.
I don't know if that's going to come back or anything, but
I think it does, but we can talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
So 30 is the assassin. And he realizes that like time is crunching for him. People are waiting for him to cap Leah and kill her.
Yeah.
And he's feeling the pressure.
One thing that I caught from this is that the Komazar means a lot to the assassin.
Yep.
So he's probably like a father to him.
Yeah.
And so he's going to do whatever he says. And that could be a potential conflict.
Yes.
He's already conflicted between this girl that he likes, but the Komazar wants him to kill her, but he's loyal to the Komazar. So there's an internal conflict there.
He kind of has to talk himself into doing it. He's like, I would slit Leah's throat because Venda meant more to me than she did. And because the Komazar had saved me when no one else would. I couldn't leave this job undone.
Mm-hmm.
That's some serious conflict.
Yeah.
All right. 31 was a pretty long chapter. In this chapter, I noticed that Mary Pearson, the author, is playing with the reader again in terms of this supposed love triangle. Leah, I think this is the chapter where Leah tries to make Rafe jealous because he's ignoring her. Remember, he will be super cold to her, and then he'll go back and be like, "Oh, we're super friendly." So at some point in the chapter, she turns to Caden and starts being super flirty, and it works. It gets Rafe's attention, and then they have this fight. So I can see how people would think that this is a love triangle, and this happens again several times throughout these next chapters because she feels guilty. She's like, God, I should not have flirted with Caden in the tavern. This is a problem. I'm leading him on. I don't like him. She says this several times. So there's clearly no love triangle. Yeah. But Mary Pearson does play with the reader.
But I feel, because I noted that too, and I feel like she made a choice very early on in the story, and she has kept her choice the entire time.
She has,
and she uses Caden, and she's nice to him.
Yeah, she is nice to him.
And just because he has feelings for her, if it's not reciprocated, I don't think it's a love triangle.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
But I do think that when she does flirt with Caden, she's also making it even harder for him to kill her.
And what I like about this book... Oh, no. Well, we're going to move on. What I was going to say is that Caden continually misreads things between him and Leah. And that's a problem in this book. I like books with unreliable narrators. And we have three. We have three unreliable narrators. First of all, because the reader doesn't know the identity of the two guys. And the only person that we actually know the identity of is Leah. And she's pretending to be someone else. So this is a classic, mistaken identity, misreading everything situation. And I always find those very interesting. But so she yells at Rafe to go away permanently. She doesn't want to see him ever again. And Caden's like, yes, this is my chance.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if at this point Rafe knew that Walter was her brother. And he didn't.
He didn't.
That's why he's so cold.
Right. Yeah, Rafe. Wait, Rafe? Rafe did not know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I thought you said Caden. So that's pretty much chapter 31.
Well, I also noted that it sounds like they're having Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's a feast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, that's important to point out. I thought it was either Christmas but Thanksgiving makes more sense because there's a parade. Bam.
Yeah.
That's true. I didn't even look into that.
That made me think that. I don't know.
The whole ceremony is about giving thanks, though.
Yeah.
To the gods. So, okay. That's some context. So 32, I didn't make a whole lot of notes. This is when Leah pretty much admits to herself that she loves the character whose name is Rafe, who we do not know yet.
Mm-hmm.
Who's who. I didn't really pick anything else out of here.
No.
Just that she's just thinking about him. And then in between chapter 32 and 33, we have another snippet from the Song of Venda.
I thought this was interesting because Venda is where the Komazar and the assassin is from. So they're the barbarians who don't like the Dahlbreck and the Morrigan.
Mm-hmm.
But she's singing about the chosen one. Why? I mean, I know why because I already read the other two books.
Right, but it does raise questions.
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions. Why does she know about the chosen one? Why does she have this song about her? Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I know.
Especially since they're enemies.
Yeah.
Which, never mind. I don't know if that's a spoiler, so I'm just gonna stop. Okay. Pauline is coming more and more out of her grief and really kind of embracing her new life. Who is this? Okay, Gwyneth tells Leah a lot of information in this chapter.
Yeah.
First of all, that she used to be a spy, so that's a huge reveal. Gwyneth also has kind of a hidden identity here. She is a spy. I don't think she says who she's a spy for.
Not yet.
Not yet. But she does know that Venda has sent an assassin to find Leah. So the reader knows this. The reader isn't really surprised, but Leah doesn't know it yet. So it's kind of interesting to see if she changes any of her behavior. And she kind of doesn't believe her. She believes her that there may be an assassin here, but she doesn't. It kind of breaks down some of the trust that she has with Gwyneth so far. She's like, is she lying to me? Is she spying on me? Who knows? And then she says here that everyone doesn't know that Leah doesn't have the gift, allegedly. In fact, rumors are growing that your gift is strong, and that's how you manage to elude the king's best trackers. Mm-hmm. So there's a problem.
So, yeah, and I underlined that too. It's like we're the same person, at least.
Oh my gosh.
So, they are speculating. The reason why they want her dead is because in the story of Morrigan, like we said before, she's the Seerah, and she led the people to safety.
But this is, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
So they don't want that to happen again because they are trying to invade Morrigan, and they don't want the Morriganese to go to safety. They don't want Leah to lead them to safety. And because they're seeing her, because she was able to safely get to Terraven, I think they're speculating, oh, she must know where safety is. We need to get rid of her now.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I saw that.
And I guess, it confused me because why would they want to kill this girl who clearly, according to them, has a lot of power, because they know that someone from Morrigan is going to come and be Hope.
I don't think
what's
think it's
that
her.
about?
But you know what?
Why would you take that risk?
Are you saying because of Venda?
Yeah.
But they think when you read later on, you don't get to this now, but we find out that the people of Venda think that Venda is a nutcase. They don't believe anything she says. They think she's crazy.
About that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why.
They're kind of like, screw it, we are writing our own destinies.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm like, that doesn't seem smart. Another thing that I marked is that Gwyneth reveals to her that the connections that she has all throughout, like Morrigan and everywhere, is called the Eyes of the Realm. Yeah. And this is basically a secret society. I did not remember that from my first read.
I have Eyes of the Realm ?
Yes.
What
Same
is
here.
that?
I'm like, what?
Where'd that come from? Because I know that's coming back.
And then she says it again to make sure that the reader remembers that this is a thing. And it's like, what? I did not even catch that the first time around. So that is something that I'm going to keep in mind this next read through. Who knows why that's cropped up?
Yeah.
So that is very interesting. We could probably spend more time talking about that, but I think we'll leave it at that for now.
Yep.
So yeah, Leah basically decides that there are a bunch of people watching her. Caden and Rafe do this like log fighting scene, which is particularly amusing.
And I don't remember if it comes back, but Caden doesn't take his shirt off.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a reason why he doesn't take his shirt off.
He doesn't say why, but doesn't he have like tattoos or something that might give away his identity?
I don't remember. I guess
but yeah, they make a big deal out of it, so it's definitely a point to remember, because Rafe does. Mm-hmm. Further misleading who might be who. That's all for really chapter 33. So 34. Let's go back to the end of my notes here. This is when Leah goes to the church, the sacristan, to basically pilfer some books. She's gonna get in, get on, get out with some books, because she because it's the book that she found. She believes that it's the language of the book she found. So she grabs this primer and has a conversation with the priest that's very interesting. Mm-hmm. He tells her that, well, he admits that he pretty much knows who she is because he was present for her dedication. And he calls her by her name, and it's not the name that she's been referred to thus far in the book. It's Arabella, he calls her. And he basically says, trust your gifts, whatever they might be. Like, he knows something.
Yeah.
He knows that her gift is probably not going to, if it does manifest, it's probably not going to manifest in the way that her mom, her other relatives have had. And then I wrote this, or I underlined this, is that sometimes a gift requires a great sacrifice. And I don't think he was being like, I think he's literally telling her, in order to access your gift, make a sacrifice.
Mhm.
And I think it's just poked in there, and then you just are supposed to keep moving. And I didn't get that the first time around either, which makes sense because, well, we'll get to it later, but she does end up making quite a big sacrifice, and then the book really starts to get rolling.
Yeah.
So, also, somebody says this to her later in a couple chapters. Somebody repeats the same thing to her word for word, and Leah's like, "Whoa, the priest said that to me." So we'll get to that in a couple chapters. But he's like, "You can take whatever books you want." Obviously, he's not afraid of her being educated, and so that's really interesting.
Mhm.
Why? He knows.
He knows something.
He knows. So then she like specifically put some Vendan phrases in here that will come back later when things are revealed. But that's really it for 34 as far as no. She starts to access her gift a little bit again here. She hears someone say he's watching. She always has this very specific reaction when that happens, and then she answers back. Dawn's like, I did not catch that. Let me go back here. Yeah, when she's doing the knife throwing.
Oh,
she's
yeah,
upset.
yeah.
And he's like, he's watching. And she's like, watch then. And then she like throws her knife perfectly, so it like concentrates all of her senses. And what's that about?
Maybe she listened for once,
right.
And then she was able to like succeed somehow. Has to find some strength in herself.
Right. Like up until this point, she has been ignoring it or just being like, okay, I think it might be just, I'm hungry. I need to eat something or, whatever. But yeah, she does. She acknowledges it and answers back. And it then answers her back in like perfect aim. So we'll see how that shows up again. I thought that was very interesting. She's like, watch that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Chapters 35 begins with, well, before chapter 35, we get a little message again from the Song of Venda. The crowned and beaten, the tongue and sword, together they will attack like blinding stars thrown from the heavens. I didn't think about that one too much.
Well, it just sounds like everybody. So the crown would be the royalty, the beaten would be the lower class, the people who talk too much, and then the people who are fighters. Like everybody's going to come together to attack what? I don't know. Are they attacking the chosen one, or is this the chosen one who's amassed these people and are going to attack whoever?
Yeah,
we don't really know.
Yeah, again, Venda might be a little loopy. Chapter 35 is from Caden's point of view, and he's thinking about Rafe and how he hates him, and Caden admits that he himself is falling in love with Leah, and that it's a problem. And that's all I'm going to say about that chapter. 36, it starts kind of interesting. Leah asks Pauline, do you ever know things, like just know them? Like she's trying to get, like, is this me? Is this normal? You're a woman. Tell me how you deal with these kinds of things. And Pauline basically says, yeah. Pauline says that sometimes she has feelings as well, and she did about Michael. But her feelings were a little bit wrong. And I think she still has a feeling, and that may or may not come out in the end. But basically, I took that as a confirmation that Pauline also has the gift.
Mm-hmm.
So, Leah, on that same page, Leah notes that her Aunt Bernadette told her that her gift diminished when she arrived at the citadel from her native land, much like what happened to Leah's mother. Once she got married, started living in Civica, and then had Leah, she also completely lost her gift. Is it Civica? Is it the Citadel? Is something happening in the Citadel to make these women lose their power? Is someone stealing it?
Could be.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to just lose this power. Something is siphoning it off. That's what I'm thinking. I'm guessing. I don't remember. That hasn't been answered yet.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So I marked that. I think that was my most shocking reveal from this chapter for me. She has some more reservations about how she flirted with Caden. She's feeling guilty because she doesn't really like him like that. Yeah. Any points? No? Okay. Chapter 37. Leah is thinking about Rafe, I think. Yeah, I didn't really. Oh yeah, she's thinking about what does he farm? What's he a farmer of? Blah blah blah. And then 38 is when things really start to pick up. Leah is woken up in the middle of the night by news that Walter is outside and he has been severely hurt. And when she goes outside to meet him, he's got like this gash across his face. He's gone a little crazy. His body's probably in shock. And he basically tells her, "We were ambushed. My wife and child are dead." And she is like, "Holy crap." Basically, she begins to understand the unfortunate results of her putting herself first.
Yeah.
And that's what's so sad. Like, Leah does have every right to take charge of her own future, but this is the reality of that choice. Whether or not it was right or wrong, this is what's happening. Walter is basically just shattered, and he tells her, "You're strong, Leah. You were always the strongest of us. That's what worried Mother." What does that mean? Just that maybe she saw this? Maybe her mother, while Leah was in the womb, kind of saw this happening?
She could have.
She could have.
Into the future.
Yeah, because she technically didn't lose her gift until Leah was born.
Yeah.
So she cannot really get much information about who did this or who's at fault, but she has an idea.
Well, the Vindans were destroying the bridge at the time,
right? But she wants names. Like she wants to know. Yeah, she wants specifically who, because she knows who's been attacking the bridges. Because yeah, so he's like, "I have nothing left but to be a soldier. So ciao. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go kick some butt." And so he's crazed. Greta's dead. He leaves, and she is left to contend with these choices. Chapter 39. Did you have anything else about 38? No, okay. Chapter 39, she decides that she has to go back. Unfortunately, she does not want to, but again, she's understanding the reality of her choices. And she realizes that her mother calling the alliance between Morrigan and Dalbreck a crucial alliance was not an understatement. And she realizes, I'm an idiot. This has been brewing for a really long time. And I just threw it all away.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty much what I got.
That's some heavy stuff. So I feel like this, okay, so in between 39 and 40, there's another Song of Venda. It says, on the far side of death, past the great divide where hunger eats the soul, their tears will increase. I'm like, prophecy? Question mark?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the first time reading through, like I said, I like to know the time and location of the book that I'm reading. Mm-hmm. And the Great Divide was the big clue for me, because I know there's a Great Divide in America, and it's Wyoming. So you said there were several.
Or the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and
I don't know which side they're talking about.
Well, it could be a lot of things either way, but this is a clue as to where in the world we are. If you're looking at America, it could be the Grand Canyon. It could be Wyoming, as you said. It could be the entire like deserty stretch of like Nevada, Arizona, Wyoming.
Well, that's what
kind of what she's saying.
That's what Wikipedia said.
Right.
It was that whole strip.
Yeah.
It's kind of Wyoming.
So that's a huge clue as to this could possibly be
But what side? Is it the west of it or the east of it?
Past the Great Divide where hunger eats the soul. Okay, the divide is where hunger eats the soul, but I don't know. She doesn't say. I'm assuming on the west side.
So Morrigan.
So Morrigan.
Okay.
And it's obviously a prophecy of what's happening right now, is what I'm interpreting it as. So that's a big one. That packs a big punch. Chapter 40. Leah is going to contend with her duties, and she's going to go back. And she kind of sees, I think she sees a vision at the end of chapter 40. She says, "This time I saw more than Walter's face, more than Greta's. I saw Bryn, I saw Regan, I saw Pauline. I have to do something." So it reminded me of that scene in The Lord of the Rings, for any of you out there listening who are familiar with the movies. When Frodo looks into the well, the fountain that Galadriel kind of forces him to look into, and he sees the future if he does not throw the ring into Mount Doom And this is that moment in this book. It's epic. It's huge. She realizes, I've got to go back. I've got to face the future I don't want to face. And that's what happens. Chapter 41 is Rafe's point of view. And he is kind of also going through the same thing. Like, something's going on with him. We don't really know. He's like, oh, I've got my own duties to attend to. And she's trying to confront him. Like, where are you going? Because she kind of feels like she needs him, yet she doesn't want to because she's got to leave. And they're still miscommunicating. They're just still not telling each other everything they need to. But they make plans to meet.
Yeah, I think he's planning, when they plan to meet up, he's going to tell her, but that doesn't.
And he does say that later. Yeah. But again, too little too late, guys. So 42. Not a lot happens. She's just thinking about her duty again. She's packing. She's thinking about meeting Rafe. And then 43 is the big chapter.
Yeah.
We're going to spend some time on this, I think. So Leah points out in chapter 43, as she's saying goodbye, Caden and Rafe are both gone. She cannot find them anywhere. She's like, I guess, whatever. I'm not going to say goodbye to Caden. That's sad, but not as big of a deal. I definitely need to say goodbye to Rafe. Again, because she does not love Caden. She loves Rafe. And she says, what was all this business he suddenly had to take care of? Maybe today was the day everyone had to live up to their past lives and duties. A little bit prophetic there, if I may say. And then Pauline is like, I'm going with you. Shut up. You can't make me go back. What I wanted to point out is that they are on their way to that city that we mentioned in the first podcast. Louisevec. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
They're going there. That is a bad idea. Because remember, whoever the assassin is has been going to Louisevec frequently to basically meet up with his fellow assassins.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get that the first time, but reading this through again, I'm like, oh no, that's why. They've all been camping out there. She's going to walk right into whatever trap they may be laying for her. And that makes me think that, what's his name? Enzo never stopped telling Kate, the assassin.
Too late.
We probably already ruined it. Never stopped telling the assassin who or what was going on in Leah's life.
Yeah.
Oh man. So this is when we do realize who the assassin is. On my page 300. My pages are wrong. Dun 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 dun. Caden is the assassin.
Yeah.
If you haven't already guessed by the two drops we've accidentally said. We're getting so close. So in chapter 43, Mary E. Pearson deftly reveals who's who. Because Leah sees Caden coming towards her on the road to Louisevec, and she's like, what? Caden? What are you doing here? And then he suddenly is like, get off your donkeys, and he, ties her up, and all of his little assassin friends come out, and you're like, holy cow, it's Caden. Because I had assumed that Rafe was the assassin.
Yeah, me too.
He's got dark hair, he's got darker features, he is more of a rough and tumble kind of guy. He takes his shirt off when he wrestles in the mud. You know what I mean?
He's got calluses on his hands, so
yes.
You kind of assume that's because he kills people.
Right.
But Rafe is a soldier.
Yep.
So he fights as a soldier, so that's why his hands were.
And Caden is the blonde guy. He's been kind of the more clean of the two, I guess. And so I loved that Mary Pearson kind of played with our preconceptions of what people look like and what that means. And I thought that was very cool. When I first read this through the first time, I was like, whoa, what?
The first time I read it, because like I said, I had the ARC. It was like way before it came out. I just picked it up. There was no cover. Like, this sounds interesting. So I pick it up and I'm reading it, and it didn't register that it was Caden until he says Malik. But I was like, no, he's one of these. And it took me, because I don't always read carefully. So I'm like, did I miss something? I must have missed something. There's no way. The whole time I'm an idiot. So the whole time I'm reading it, it's switching assassin, prince, Caden, Rafe. I'm just assuming that when it says assassin, they're talking about Rafe. And I'm assuming it didn't occur to me that they're different people.
Exactly.
I already made my mind. So it took me, I went 20 minutes looking back to see did I miss something? Did she do this on purpose? And
Yeah,
she did it on purpose.
she did, and she does it perfectly.
And that's when I was like, Elise, you need to read this now.
Yeah.
I need everybody to stop and read this now.
And when I read this chapter, I had done the same thing. I assumed that the assassin was Rafe, and I assumed that the prince was Caden. I mean, Caden is a more delicate name. I mean, it just sounds more princely. And I had a physical reaction when I read this page and I'm realizing what is happening. I could feel like my blood burning in my ears. Like it was like a shiver going down my back. I was like, whoa, oh my God. And it was so great. And that officially made this book one of my favorites.
I think I yelled out loud and almost threw this book across the room.
Yep.
Because I was like, oh God, I was wrong the whole time.
Yes. And it makes you question everything you thought about this book up until this point. So, this chapter further confirms that Caden is Vendon, that he's the assassin. He starts speaking Vendon to his assassin
friends.
His
assassin friends.
His assassin buddies. And then Pauline and Leah kind of make a deal with Caden. Leah says, let Pauline go. She's pregnant. I will go willingly if you give me your word that you can let her go.
So and is that the sacrifice?
Basically, that's the sacrifice I think that she had to make. I'm going to go. You leave him here. She sacrificed everything. She sacrificed the chance to make things right, the chance to meet Rafe, and she's kind of even sacrificing Pauline because she has no idea if Pauline is going to get back all right. So, yeah, I think at that point she's kind of fulfilling this prophecy that she needs to make this sacrifice. So she puts herself on the line, basically, and I think that's what the prophecy was talking about. So Leah attempts to kind of get out of it some more, though. She does say, I'll give you some gold. They're like, that doesn't mean anything to us. And she begins to plan to kill Caden. The chapter 43 ends with her thinking in her head, I'm going to put a knife between his deceitful Vendon ribs.
Mm-hmm.
And that officially finally tells you again that she does not have any feelings for Caden. And this solidifies.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dirty bastard.
Now.
Yeah. So the last chapter we're going to talk about is chapter 44, and this is Rafe's point of view. And I thought it was interesting that she still put his name up there because now we know who he is. And so this chapter totally reveals that, yes, he's the prince. Sven, who I love Sven. He is hilarious. He's an old crony who loves to poke fun at his young protege. And it said, it would seem she's done it again. Looks like your little dove has flown without you. Twice.
Oh.
Damn. Low blow. So he realizes that something's gone wrong, that there's no way she wouldn't meet him, and he's right. So he reveals that he was going to tell her who he was, and that he was going to persuade her not to go back to Civica, but instead just marry her, go back to Dahlbreck like they planned, and start over. But she never showed up. So he's like, I gotta go find her.
Yeah.
And he does. And this is when things start to heat up. And I was telling Dawn, I didn't realize that we still have quite a significant portion of the book left to go. And if you are rereading this series with us and want to continue kind of like figuring out what's going on, pay attention to this next section because so much is revealed. And I'm really looking forward to rereading this because I kind of, after the reveal, the book goes really quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like the speed picks up because so much is happening, and I'm really going to take a lot of notes this time around as we read these next chapters. So yeah, definitely keep your eyes peeled. Leave no word unturned. It's going to be good. So what chapters are we reading this time? 45 through what?
45 through 59.
59. All right, let me mark my place here. All right, well, join us next time. Do we have a date, or is it just going to be whenever? Next week.
Next week,
as per usual. We're kind of weekly now, since we can't really do arcs as much. We're going to be doing just kind of random reading related stuff like this. So join us next week where we'll discuss chapters 45 through 59 of Kiss of Deception. And you can catch our podcast now on iTunes. You can subscribe to us. We're just at the Small Print Podcast. You can search, see our little image, and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Bye.